Slendy, ego, Slendy, ego, Slendy, ego, Slendy, hey, you already know what's up. What's that, another home run? But you know the job ain't done till we hold that trophy up. Hey.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 542 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. Ben Fadden with you here. It is December 20th, 2023, inching closer to the new year, inching closer to Christmas. Hopefully, everybody is having a great night here, the start of your night. The Padres reportedly are signing reliever Yuki Matsui to a 4-year deal worth $21 million. That is according to Yahoo Japan. So that is the main topic I want to get into on the show today. If you want to join the show, you can click that link that's pinned up at the top of the chat. If you have any questions, any comments, feel free to leave that in the live chat. If you're watching on replay on YouTube, feel free to give your thoughts in the comments. If you're listening on the podcast platforms, at Talking Friars on Twitter and Instagram, or you can go to the YouTube comments to give your thoughts as well. I appreciate everyone for being here, obviously, like I do every episode. I don't take your time for granted. So without further ado, let's get into this. Yuki Matsui, it was reported, I believe, yesterday that the sides were close. Looked like Matsui was coming to the San Diego Padres, and then it was tweeted out today. I saw from Yahoo Cosmopolitan. It was a link to the Yahoo Japan site saying Yuki Matsui has agreed in principle on a 4-year, $21 million deal with the San Diego Padres. And I don't know if this is totally correct because this is translated from Japanese to English. So some of these details might not be totally accurate. But here is what some of the Yahoo Japan article says here. It was announced on the 20th that Rakuten pitcher Hiroki Matsui, so is that, so the English name for Hiroki, is that Yuki Matsui, or maybe Japanese, the translation is messed up there. I don't know, but Yuki Matsui is what he is being called by American outlets, exercising his overseas free agent rights and aiming to challenge for the majors, has reached a basic agreement with the Padres. Annual salary expected to be more than his salary, obviously, with the Japanese team that he played for there, the Rakuten Eagles, in the Nippon Professional Baseball League, where he spent 10 seasons there, a 2.43 ERA. He made 17 starts, 517 appearances, so most of them were out of the bullpen. And in this article here, before getting into some information on like the basics of what to know about Yuki Matsui, says here, if there are no abnormalities in the medical checks he has already undergone, an official announcement is expected to be made soon. So we'll see when that is made, but this is reportedly he is signing with the Padres. It seems like the decision has been made. He was recently in San Diego, I believe, took a physical. So yeah, the news should be coming down here officially, I hope, pretty soon. There's a possibility that the left-hander, who is also being considered as a guardian candidate, don't know what that means, closer candidate, maybe, will face Ohtani for the first time on next season's opening card, meaning the first couple games, the opening series, which is in Korea, obviously, March 20th and the 21st, when the Padres and the Dodgers square off. It seems that Matsui, who had hoped to settle the two-shot relationship with wife Anna, with whom he has a good relationship, I hope, has finally made his decision. On the 19th, U.S. media reported that an agreement with the Padres was close to being reached. According to sources, he also received an offer from the Cardinals with good terms for a total of 2 billion yen over 3 years, but the Padres beat them in terms of the deal. I'm guessing they gave him more guaranteed years than the Cardinals did. And it was just a better deal, more guaranteed, maybe not guaranteed money, maybe more guaranteed money, but more years for Matsui than the St. Louis Cardinals did. He arrived in the United States on the 11th, first stop in San Diego. He and his wife Anna toured the stadium facilities and a supermarket selling Japanese food. Being in the presence of Darvish was, I believe it says here, was one of the deciding factors. So I'm not going to read the entire thing. I already got into a lot of it there. But that was the Yahoo Japan article that reported that Matsui is signing with the San Diego Padres. Now, what should fans know about Yuki Matsui? So, most of his time was as a reliever in Japan. He did pitch a little bit for Team Japan in the World Baseball Classic, these last couple of World Baseball Classics, I believe. Scoreless, I believe, did not give up any runs there. His last 3 seasons pitching with Rakuten in the Nippon Professional Baseball League, .63 ERA in 2021, a 1.92 ERA in 2022, a 1.57 ERA in 2023. You know, over 700 innings in total. When you in total for 10 seasons foreign, in those foreign contests that he pitched in there, 10 seasons it says in the NPB, a little less than 700 innings, so 659 and 2/3 innings with a 2.40 ERA. I believe if you put his ERA as just a reliever, it's down to like 2.10. And he's not big. So that's maybe why there wasn't a ton of interest in Matsui. Maybe also because of Yoshinobu Yamamoto has not made a decision yet. The Dodgers obviously were in on Ohtani. They're in on Yamamoto. And this is a risk. Like it's not like he's just coming over. He's pitched a while in Japan. He's 5'8". I think he's 165, I want to say. Yeah, 5'8", 165. I'm reading from MLB.com here. Matsui misses bats mostly with his plus splitter. Very good splitter. If you go watch some of the highlights on YouTube, you're not going to be blown away by the velocity, but the movement looks pretty special. Fastball sits between 92, 94 miles per hour, tops out at 96. Matsui also offers a slider. Struck out 32.4% of the batters he faced last season, a 31.9% career strikeout rate. But the thing to look out for with Matsui is location. Location because he doesn't throw gas. He's not Josh Hader. And also because his walk rate is higher than the major league average walk rate. His walk rate in 2023 was 5.9%, but the career walk rate is 10.9. So maybe the Padres are like, well, we were encouraged by what we saw in 2023. It wasn't as bad as it was if you look at his career. So we're okay with that. And even if they weren't, they're willing to take this risk. And Ruben Niebla can work his magic. Darvish can help him out. Hopefully, they're going to have a good relationship. I mean, they played on Team Japan together, so I assume that Darvish knows Yuki Matsui a little bit. 3 2/3 scoreless innings with 6 punch-outs across 2 of those World Baseball Classic tournaments, pitching for Team Japan. So he was not like Ohtani or Yamamoto or Darvish, or was Sasaki pitching? He might have had a bigger role as well. He wasn't like one of the bigger guys there, but Japan has a ton of talented pitchers. So I don't know if we should read too much into that. Being on Team Japan, just that in itself, and pitching a little bit in the World Baseball Classic, I mean, I think that tells you that the Padres are getting a talented arm. And if this is reported, if this is correct, 4 years, $21 million to pay a little over $5 million to a guy that could end up being one of your high leverage relievers. I mean, that's a good deal. And I'm not surprised that the Padres ended up making this move if that indeed is the price, because we know AAV wise, they don't have a ton of money to spend. And so we're not going to see the Padres. I would be surprised if we saw the Padres go spend $10+ million on a player, or definitely multiple players. That's not happening, I don't think. Maybe they acquire someone that's making double-digit AAV, that salary, or they sign one starter that's making that because they have to. That's just what the market is demanding. But they have a lot of holes here, and relief help was one of them. Like they needed that. Right now they don't have Tim Hill. They could bring him back, but they don't have him. They didn't want to pay him the arbitration number there. Adrian Marjon, you can't really count on him. Unfortunately, health-wise, they're losing Josh Hader, no Luis Garcia. He signed with the Angels. Nick Martinez, obviously, no Nick Martinez there for the Padres in 2024. and beyond. So, like, there's guys that they, have to replace, obviously. Scott Barlow got traded to the Guardians, and he was expected to be a high leverage reliever. Now, they got Daniel De Los Santos back, and he's expected to be a high leverage reliever for the Padres. But help was definitely needed in the bullpen. So, that's a little bit what to know about Yuki Matsui. Good numbers over there in Japan. Jung-Hoo Lee, another Padres target who ended up going to the Giants, though. Good numbers there in Korea. Matsui in Japan. Yamamoto, not a Padres target, but good numbers there. We just don't know if he's going to pitch this well in the big leagues. I don't think we should expect him to have a sub-2 ERA like he did for a while here in his last few seasons there in Japan. I think that's unrealistic. When you don't throw high velocity and, these guys, they're used to facing 97 routinely. So if you're throwing 92, 94, you better locate well. So that's definitely something that we're going to have to be looking out for when Yuki Matsui ends up pitching at Petco Park, assuming that this deal does go through and he is a San Diego Padre. We'll see, when the Padres or beat writers in America officially announce that. But yeah, that's a little bit what you should know about Yuki Matsui. Not going to blow you away with velocity, and he's going to have to rely on location, but it's a lefty and someone that definitely has some good movement on his pitches. So personally, I am looking forward to seeing how he can pitch in maybe some of these high leverage situations for the Padres. And if you go from just think about this, you go from Matsui to Suarez, you're going from 92, 94 to upper 90s, someone that can hit 100 in Robert Suarez. That's a little bit of a difference there. And that could end up being a good thing for the Padres and throw some hitters off. Suarez is a righty. Matsui is a lefty. So there's that as well. There's Cosgrove in the bullpen. So now Matsui, if this deal goes through, he will be joining De Los Santos. He'll be joining Suarez and Cosgrove and Wilson. And there's the Rule 5 draft pitcher that they got, Kolak, but he might not be on the roster. We'll see. Ray Kerr, he got traded, so he's not going to be on the roster. But there's Johnny Brito, there's Randy Vasquez, and we'll see if there's any other relievers that the Padres pick up. Let's see. Anything else from this Japanese article that stands out here? No. Family includes one son, one daughter. His wife is an actress, Anna. All right. So we'll see. We'll see again when this comes final. But, what does this mean for the Padres? It gives them an arm, a talented arm that has upside. But I don't really know what to expect. I guess what I expect is someone that will be obviously on the big league roster. I think they will give him a shot to pitch like the 7th inning and maybe base it on matchups. It's not a lot of money. So I don't know based on the money, because let's say they would have offered it or they would have had to give him like $9 million a year. Then I would be like, okay, he's definitely getting high leverage situations, but 5.5, I still think that he will get high leverage situations, but I don't think that this is a salary where it's like, okay, we need this guy to be pitching in every high leverage situation. This guy needs to work out. This guy needs to be the 8th inning guy. He needs to close games if Robert Suarez can't close. I think that, they'll still, probably point to like Steven Wilson, Tom Cosgrove, guys that have at least pitched a little bit in the big leagues. But no, there's going to be expectation on Matsui for sure. I just look at the money and I'm like, 4 years, 21 mil. That's not a whole lot. I know he hasn't pitched in the big leagues before, but what some relievers are getting, I mean, that's not really much. So we'll see. We'll see what we get out of Yuki Matsui. The bullpen, you can never have enough pitching. So I'd like the Padres to still go out and get probably another reliever after this. Rotation wise right now, they still need to go get starting pitching, and you need depth beyond the starting pitching that's just in the rotation. Waka, Lugo, Martinez, gone. Snell, gone. Right now, it's Musgrove, Darvish, King, Avila, right? That's what it is. And I think the Padres, they'd rather have Avila fighting for a rotation spot than saying, all right, Pedro, here you go. You're the 5 starter, or hey, Matt Waldron, here you go. You're the 5-starter. I think that they want more depth. So if they make this signing here, let me pull up the payroll real quick. Go to Fangraphs, go to the Padres page here. I think it was at like 199. Spot has it a little bit higher than that, so I don't really know exactly what the Padres payroll is. But the luxury tax payroll estimate right now is 205, and that does not include Matsui, I don't believe. So actually, I think I may have switched that up. So Spot, I think their payroll number for the Padres is lower than what Fangraphs is. So no Matsui in this. So you add $5 million there on the AAV. Now, according to Fangraphs, you're going to be at a little over 210. And so now you would have 27 mil to spend, probably a little less. Less than that, because you want a little bit of a wiggle room. So at the deadline, if you have to make an addition, you can make that addition without going over the luxury tax, because the Padres, they want to stay under it. And that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that's watching this or that's listening to this, anyone that's paid attention to the Padres offseason. Shouldn't be a shocker. They want to reset, because if they don't, then there's more penalties that have to come to the Padres for going over, So, probably like 25 is probably like a good sweet spot to think about of how much money the Padres have to spend AAV-wise, and probably another bullpen arm, 2 outfielders, starting pitching, hopefully a couple starting pitchers, a first base bat. That's what, six things there. Depth more than that, not just those pieces. Like, you want more than that, because we know that the grind of a big league season, you don't just go through a rotation with 5 guys or 6 guys. You have Jackson Wolf starting a game. You have Alec Jacob throwing in the bullpen. Like, you have these one-offs where you do need the depth. Now, we'll see when Mazer and Iriarte are ready. We'll see if Drew Thorpe ends up being ready at some point in 2024. But I think you want the depth right out of the gate in spring training, because you don't know what's going to happen in spring training. You could have a kettlebell drop on someone's toe. You could have someone be not totally ready to go. I know there's no WBC, but things can happen. So need more pitching for sure. But yeah, I mean, that's really what the news is today. Is Matsui close to a deal? There is Yahoo Japan reporting that he is signing a deal, 4 years, $21 million with the San Diego Padres. Now, MLB Network's Steve Phillips, who is a former GM, he gave some thoughts on Hot Stove on Yuki Matsui. So here is Steve Phillips. This was this morning, I believe, on Hot Stove with Matt Vasgersian and Harold Reynolds.
You and Eduardo on the leadoff spot on MLB Network Radio this morning, talking a lot about Yuki Matsui, 5'8", very different kind of pitcher profile than Yamamoto. San Diego among the interested suitors. What kind of money, what kind of other offers might be out there for him?
Right. There were reports that the Cardinals were in on him. Now, this is a reliever that has gotten to 200, the quickest to ever get to 200 saves in Japan. He had been a reliever that was a multiple inning guy. The last 3 years, he's been a 1-inning pitcher. And so he's a closer type. Now, a left-hander, he reminds me of John Franco. Now, John Franco's put-away pitch was the changeup. For Yuki Matsui, it's his split. He's got an outstanding split. He can locate the fastball. He's got his fair share of swings and misses. Now, he walks more than a few, but the reports are that this could get done today with the Padres, and I don't suspect this is a long-term deal. It's going to be less than Josh Hader. It's going to be less than Jordan Hicks, and less than what those guys are getting. But a guy that's had great success, and relievers coming from Japan, I think can step right in and do a really nice job. And so the reports are that it looks like San Diego is likely to get this done.
All right, so there we go. So if you look at the profile here, 28 years old, 5'8", 167, 10 seasons in Japan, 2.40 ERA, 236 saves, the youngest to get to 200 saves there, 11.7 punch-outs per 9. I do have to point out, not trying to crap on the guy, I'm just pointing out, just like Jung-Hoo Lee, I was pointing out then, Major League Baseball is different than in Japan. It's different than in Korea. So there might be that adjustment period. There probably is going to be some type of adjustment period. And hopefully the adjustment period can come like in spring training. But if he doesn't get off to the best start, I don't think we should be freaking out. There's going to be an adjustment period, even for a non-baseball player going from Japan to the United States, or if you're going from the United States to Japan, there's going to be an adjustment period. And hopefully having someone like you, Darvish, on the team can help that transition. So we'll see. 1.57 ERA in 2023, 72 punch-outs, and 0.89 whip, in 57 and a third innings, 39 saves, led the league, career high. And yes, reportedly signing with the San Diego Padres. And I agree with Steve Phillips there. Yeah, it was never going to be Josh Hader money. Not like he has not proven himself at the big league level. And it's not like he throws 99. He throws 92, 94. And so some teams probably said, that's a risk. Don't want to take that risk. I'm not giving you 4 years. And I don't know if the Cardinals offered him 4 years. Padres gave him the best offer, probably the most guaranteed, either dollars or years. So that's why the Padres landed him. And the Cardinals are another National League team, and they could be a contender this year. So taking him away from a possible playoff team that you're going to be playing, I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing, right? All right, quick break, and then I'm going to get to the chat. If you want to join the show, you can click that link pinned up at the top of the chat. Just a reminder there for everyone. Check out Gaglione Bros' famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries on Friars Road. You can visit their website, gaglionebros.com, for their entire menu and enjoy their cheesesteaks and fries at Petco Park and Snapdragon Stadium as well. All right, let's get to the chat. Love talking with Padres fans. Thank you all for being here again. I really do appreciate everyone's time. Eddie here says, oh, yeah, let's hear it, Ben. What are your thoughts? His ERA had me like, okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not going to act like I know a ton about him. A lot of these stats I'm just reading, and I've seen some highlights of him and tried to watch some video, and I've tried to see or read as much information as I can about him. It seems like this is a guy that the Padres are hoping can continue to. I mean, he spent 10 years in Japan, so it's hard for me to say, like, hope that he can continue to develop. But, like, at the big league level, refine that location, keep getting that walk rate down like it was in 2023 compared to his career walk rate. Lefty, another bullpen arm, and I think they probably see this as, well, talented, really talented out of Japan. Maybe some big league hitters won't know a ton about him, and that can be an advantage for the Padres. And he will cost less than some other relievers that we don't know. I mean, they could go get hurt right when we sign them. They could be less effective. Signing a reliever to a long-term deal is a big risk. And so if you're going to sign someone to a 3-4 year deal, 4-year deal like Matsui here, don't give that person, $10 million, $20 million a year. Giving someone a 4-year deal, but it's, $5 million, that's more okay. It's more doable. And if he pitches really well, well, guess what? That's a bargain. If he doesn't pitch so well, I mean, what is $5 million going to be in a few years, right? Like, it just seems like whoever you are, I mean, the market just keeps going up. You could be a catcher, a backup catcher, and get $12 million. You could be a starting pitcher that had a 5+ ERA and get, $14 million or almost 5 ERA, whatever Jack Flaherty was this past year with the Tigers. So this seems like a pretty darn cost-efficient move for the Padres, and it seems like there's going to be some upside there. What's his ERA? So this past year, his ERA was 1.57. The last 3 years, it's all sub-2. Career is 2.43 ERA. But I do have to say, just a warning, it was in Japan. It was not like it was in the big leagues. What is Japan's... I wonder what scouts would compare Japan to. Would it be AA? Would it be AAA? I think Japanese is higher than Korean baseball. So if Korea was AA, is Japan AAA? Is Japan 4A? Like, what level is that? I'm curious to know, like, what that would be. I wonder if anyone has said that, or if anyone has put that on the internet. Is Japanese baseball... Let's see. Japanese I'm seeing here it's been called 4A level in the past. So between can I talk? Between AAA, say that 5 times fast. Between AAA and the big leagues. Second best league in the world behind Major League Baseball. Ohtani, Yamamoto, Darvish, Yoshida, Suzuki, I think played there. He's on the Cubs. A lot of guys have come through there. So take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, the ERA, but I don't think he's going to come over here and have like a 6 ERA, right? Christopher asks, where will Matsui fit into the bullpen? I would say right now, if I had to look at the Padres bullpen, Padres depth chart, because I don't want to forget anyone. Suarez would be the closer. I mean, they're paying him closer money. He better be the closer. I would have Cosgrove in the 8th inning. I'd have Steven Wilson in the 7th, and then I'd have De Los Santos and Matsui probably after that, or excuse me, before that, or have them be matchups. Because De Los Santos is a righty. Cosgrove, I think at some point you could see Cosgrove maybe not be relied upon so heavily. Maybe he is a platoon guy, or maybe Wilson doesn't pitch in a high leverage spot. I'm just going off of like guys that have pitched in the big leagues, guys that I am familiar with. Like Johnny Brito and Randy Vasquez. Brito, he could be pitching in high leverage innings at some point, but I'm not going to immediately slot him into a high leverage spot. Like I want to see more. I want to see something from him. I don't know where he was pitching with the Yankees. Was he a high leverage guy? I'm not sure. Because the Yankees they usually have a pretty good bullpen. I wonder if I went to, let's see, if I go to like 2023 Yankees, I wonder if it would list like the relievers in terms of like depth, essentially. So Clay Holmes, yeah, I think that's what it does here. Clay Holmes as the closer. Michael King, who the Padres just got, as like their 8th inning guy for the most part. Although this just says, I mean, it has Johnny Brito as a starter because he had 13 starts this past year. So he could start as well. He could fight for a rotation spot. And maybe Randy Vasquez is a reliever. But neither of those guys are in like the top 5 of their bullpen of the Yankees this past year. So I'm not going to immediately go slot them in there. So yeah, right now I'd go like Suarez closer, Cosgrove 8th, Wilson 7th, or De Los Santos. And then I'd probably go with Matsui as like the 6th inning or matchups. You know, maybe end of an inning. It doesn't seem like he pitches more than an inning for the most part. Which, I mean, I just want him pitching in the situations that he's comfortable in, at least to start at the big league level. And then once he gets comfortable, then you can, you know, stretch him or put him in a different spot if you need him to. Yes, 4-year contract. 4 years, $21 million is what is being reported. It's not official. Not official. Padres haven't tweeted it out. Kevin Acee or Dennis Lin, AJ Cassavell haven't tweeted anything out. Passan hasn't tweeted anything out. So I guess it could fall apart, but all signs are pointing to Yuki Matsui coming to the San Diego Padres. Could be a 4-year deal, could not be a 4-year deal, but the reported number is 4 years, $21 million. Yeah. I don't know if he'll be the like number 1 setup man, but yeah, I think that's what the Padres want is him at some point pitching in those high leverage spots. Daniel says, still waiting on San Diego Christmas gift. Luis Robert Jr., 3 years of control. Randy Arozarena, 2 years of control, both for under $20 million. We have the prospects to do it in 3 years to replenish the farm. Yes, but I think the White Sox, they want to build around Luis Robert Jr., not trade him. Dylan Cease, I don't think that the White Sox, they're not a team that spends a ton of money in free agency or someone that, extends a starting pitcher for a huge amount of money. They traded Chris Sale to the Red Sox, right? So I know that was years ago, but I'm just bringing that up as a past example. When you have like a star pitcher in your rotation, they have Dylan Cease. I don't see them, trying to extend him. So Cease, I think, is more doable than Luis Robert Jr. Eloy Jimenez would be doable, but are you going to stick him in the outfield? He's more of a DH guy, and I don't know if the Padres want to really go pay for just a DH. I think you probably want to have that spot be flexible. And what I mean by that is you can have multiple guys fill that DH spot and have some days off to keep guys healthy. Randy Rosarena is one that the Padres are probably interested in. I don't think I've seen any reporting that they are like in talks with the Rays for Randy Rosarena, but with Manny Margot going to the Dodgers with Tyler Glasnow, it doesn't seem like a Rosarena will go to the Dodgers. I did see Ken Rosenthal, though, I think it was on Fair Territory on his podcast, mention that the Rays, now that they got out from under the Glasnow money, that they think that they can try to win with a Rosarena on their roster. They were going to trade a Rosarena if maybe they couldn't trade Glasnow and they needed to lower the payroll. That's just what the Tampa Bay Rays do. I'm not saying Randy's not going to get dealt. And if he is available, yeah, the Padres should express interest. I don't know what that would cost, though. Would that cost Samuel Zavala? I think you give that up if you can get Randy Rosarena for a couple years of control, and he's not costing a ton of money. You can put him in the middle of the lineup. I think you give up someone like that. But I guess the Padres have to weigh, like, maybe what if the White Sox want Lesko and Zavala? The Rays want Zavala as well. Do you want Cease or do you want Rosarena? I think both have 2 years of control. So which do you want? Are the White Sox willing to take Lesko and another top 10 prospect? Maybe Lesko and Iriarte or Lesko and Mazer, not both of Iriarte and Mazer, but I'm just saying, like, because they're going to want a top 5 prospect, Lesko. I'm not giving up Robbie Snelling probably for Dylan Cease, because Cease is right. Not Cease. Snelling, he is it seems like he's pretty close. He's closer for sure than Lesko is to the big leagues. But yeah, to answer that, Daniel, I think that Randy is more attainable than Luis Robert Jr., but I'm not so sure that the Tampa Bay Rays are going to be moving Randy Rosarena. But yeah, I mean, he'd be a fan favorite immediately with the Padres for sure. Lizzie says, I like the signing 5.35. Is it 5.35 or 5.25? Now we need Suarez to have a bounce back year because he is making 10 mil. I think Suarez got 5 years, 48. He got 5 years. Was it 5 years? I thought it was 9 a year. Was it 5 years, 45? Suarez contract. $5 years, 46. So yeah, a little over $9 million a year on the AAV. But yeah, no doubt. Robert Suarez, yeah, for sure. Need him to be healthy, have a bounce back year. He had the suspension, right, with the sticky stuff on the mound. I mean, whatever. Like, it felt like the season was already over at that point. It already was, but that was something that I remember from this past year from Robert Suarez. And just health-wise. I mean, the guy, how many games did the Padres miss the playoffs by? A couple? If Robert Suarez was healthy in the first half of the year, what would that have meant? And you could point to that with Manny. If he didn't miss that time with a broken wrist? What was it with Manny? On the hit by pitch against the Royals, if he wouldn't have missed time there, if Musgrove wouldn't have missed time at the beginning of the year, or if he wouldn't have been out with the shoulder injury at the end, or if Darvish wouldn't have got hurt, what would have happened? Right? But, those are what ifs. Can't do anything about it. But yes, Robert Suarez definitely needs to have a bounce back year for the amount of money that they're paying him and you're expecting him to replace Josh Hader. That's what we were expecting him to do. Yeah. He's got to be the closer this next year. Devin says the contract seems steep, but somewhat reasonable. I don't know why is it steep? Is it the years? I don't think that's really that steep. I mean, you're seeing pitchers all over the place get, $10+ million a year. I know they pitch in the big leagues and they've proven it, but some guys are coming off of not so great seasons. And this guy's coming off of 3 dominant seasons after pitching 10 years in Japan. Devin asks, what do you think of signing Domingo Germán? I will pass on that. Just some of the character issues. I don't think the Padres need to do that. I'm passing on Trevor Bauer. I'm passing on Domingo Germán. There's other options out there. You can go get some safer options that are going to be better in the clubhouse, not have the question marks, right? It's one thing to have question marks with your talent coming off of an injury or whatever, but to have question marks with your character as well, and just how things are going. I hope he gets help, but I don't think that's best for the Padres to spend the limited amount of money that they have on someone that, might pitch well at the big league level when he's healthy, but he might not be on the field because of some things that have happened off the field. The Yankees were done with him last season. I think they kicked him out, right? So I'll pass on that. Steve says, Nightingale says we only have $20 to $25 million to spend, and that's before Matsui. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. If the Padres want to have room to add at the deadline, stay under the 237 number, yeah. Right now it's at 205, a little bit around 205 according to Fangraphs, the luxury tax number, 237. So, yeah, 25 mil there. That gets you up to 230. So, yeah, I think that's probably pretty spot on. But other reporters have been wrong before about how much money the Padres have to spend. But it feels like when all the reporters are saying, yeah, this is probably what they're doing, and we know what's happening a little bit behind the scenes from the great reporting that has come out from like Kevin Acee and Dennis Lin and Ken Rosenthal and probably others that I'm forgetting. When we know all that, I think we can, this time be like, yeah, that's probably what's happening we know they're lowering payroll. We know probably where they're going to be at payroll wise. Like they're not going to be over 200 mil and they don't want to be over the luxury tax. So don't just go look at how much money do they have to get to 200, not looking at the luxury tax, just the payroll number. Look at the luxury tax number that they're at. Let's see. Is there any news? Just want to double check here. No, don't see anything yet. All right, continuing with the chat here. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Christopher says, can he start? It says he started 17 games at the beginning of his career. Could he step into a starting role? I don't think that's what the Padres want. I mean, he spent a decade in Japan. So if he's starting, he started 17 games his first year in 2014. The Padres are going to sign him to do that. When they have Michael King that they brought in, they have Brito who can start, and he started in the big leagues last year. They can bring in some other guys. They had Pedro Avila. They had Matt Waldron. Hopefully some more depth comes in. I don't think that's why you sign him, to say, hey, let's try you as a starter. They needed bullpen help, so I think that he's just going to slot into the bullpen. Mike says this should be considered with a wait-and-see approach. After all, he hasn't thrown one pitch in the majors yet. Let's just see what happens first before we award him the Fireman of the Year trophy. What is that? I've never heard of that. But like saving the day? Like he's going to save the day for the Padres? Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I'm not saying that this guy's going to be, the next Josh Hader. He's not going to be. He doesn't have those characteristics. I'm just saying that it looks like there is upside. Things that I'm reading, some of the video that I've seen. Granted, it's not lowlights, it's highlights, but there's a lot of highlights. There's more highlights than lowlights with Yuki Matsui in Japan. And that's all we can do. That's all we can look at because it's not like he pitched at the big league level before. Yes, Steve. Suarez is the closer, not Matsui. I would not be surprised by this, Christopher. If the Padres signed Tim Hill to a minor league contract, he continues to work out with Joe Musgrove. I think he was at the UFC event over the weekend. So if there's no like big market for Tim Hill, I would not be surprised to see him come back on a minor league deal and maybe even make the team out of spring training, just at a lower salary than what the Padres wanted to do. And I think the Padres, they said, no, Tim Hill will let you go to free agency, probably because they were like, hey, there's probably not going to be a huge market for Tim Hill. So let's take the chance. If we don't get him, not that big of a deal. If we can bring him back, great. But we're not going to pay him. What was it? Like $3 million or something like that? 2-3 mil. They didn't want to do that for Tim Hill. That's what happens at the beginning of an offseason when you're trying to cut salary. You're going to try to cut it wherever you can. They did it with Barlow in the trade with with the Guardians for Enyo de los Santos. They did it with Austin Nola, Tim Hill. So obviously Soto, Grisham, Carpenter. Well, Austin Nola is another guy that could come back on a minor league contract. We'll see. Christopher says Preller finally did something good this offseason. Well, it's also wait and see. Like we think it could be a good thing. We think it's a good thing. I'm fine with the contract right now if it's 4 years, $21 million. Like I think that's reasonable. If it doesn't work out, that's not a ton of money you're giving to a reliever per year. So I don't think it's the end of the world, but we don't know if it's good. It is a wait and see. Like Mike is right. It is a wait and see, but it does seem like it's a pretty smart move by Preller. That's what he does. That's what he and his staff do. They did it with Robert Suarez coming over a couple years ago. He was not in the big leagues. I think he came over from NPB, right? Let me double check. I want to say it was from Japan. And look, I mean, yeah, they gave Suarez a bunch of money, but that 2022 season that they had Suarez, I mean, geez, that worked out pretty good, huh? It's not showing. Oh yeah, it was Japan. Okay. Because when I first looked at Baseball Reference, it did not show that. So he was playing for the Fighters, right? No, my bad. The Hanshin Tigers. He was playing for them in Japan. And Preller and the Padres found him there. These are different pitchers, but Preller has a history of, regardless of which relievers are leaving, bringing in quality relievers that aren't making a ton of money and having a pretty solid bullpen for the most part. Especially the closers. If you go look at Preller's closers in the history with the Padres, it's pretty darn good. There's some things you can criticize him with, but the closer position is one that I would not. That's not something that I'm immediately looking at like, man, AJ, you suck at that. That's not true. I mean, go back to, he brings in Craig Kimbrell right before the season starts, right? Where you're trying to go all in, right? The Padres in 2015. And then had Fernando Rodney, right? He had like a sub-1 ERA, I want to say, with the Padres, and then they traded him to the Marlins in, I think, the Paddock deal. And then there was Brad Hand for a couple years. There was Kirby Yates. There was Mark Melancon. There was in 2020 Trevor Rosenthal from Oakland. Who am I forgetting? There was Taylor Rogers. Yeah. I forget the brothers, Taylor and Tyler. There was Taylor Rogers. And then they trade him to Milwaukee for Hader. So it's a pretty good closer history. And so we'll see. We'll see what Matsui ends up being. He was a closer in Japan, closing experience, can close. I don't expect him to immediately, get those closing opportunities, put him in a bunch of save situations right out of the gate. Yep, not a huge splash. I agree with the beef. Not a huge splash, but at least is an addition. Mike says the closer's job will be wide open until the end of spring training. I don't see it that way. If Suarez is healthy, I think they give the closer job to Robert Suarez. You're paying him like $9 million a year. He better have the closing job. At least give him that opportunity. Hopefully he's healthy. I think everything's good there. Iron Swan says probably 4A because of WBC results. Like the level that Yuki Matsui was pitching in? Probably, yeah. No. That's not how it works. SDFan44 says, didn't Japan beat USA, so Japan is higher? Yes, Japan beat USA, but look at all the players that Team USA didn't have playing in the WBC, okay? Like if they had Bryce Harper playing and he was healthy, if they had Mike Trout, or they did, if they had Harper, Trout, Betts, Garrett Cole, who else in the rotation for Team USA? The pitching was not good for Team USA. It just was not. You know, if Musgrove would have played, like that would have improved the rotation, for example. Garrett Cole, Musgrove, Dylan C, Shane Bieber, Verlander, Scherzer. I guess. I mean, I think they would have still been upgrades, but guys didn't want to do it, or the team said no, we're not going to allow them to do it because our season is more important than Team USA, right? It's not like soccer where Team USA baseball is playing, once a month for these camps, and there's a world like it's as big as a world, as a World Cup. That's just not how it is. But no, Major League Baseball, obviously, that's where all the best players in the world play, not just the best Japan players. Christopher, I'm just seeing your comment here, so hopefully you're good. I've been reading a bunch of your comments today. Sorry, sometimes I can't get to everyone's comment because some of them are repeat comments, but I appreciate everyone for being here, and I try to get to all the good points here. Alex says I would go Matsui 8th, and if he comes in and closes in matchups, that's what I would do. Yeah, I think it gets to that at some point. I think that's the ideal thing for the Padres is they want Matsui to be pitching in those high leverage spots, set it up for Robert Suarez. Maybe De Los Santos pitches the 8th, Matsui the 7th, or De Los Santos, and then you have Matsui get the final lefty of an inning or something. But right now, I mean, I kind of like the back end of this Padres bullpen. I think it's just having depth in the bullpen is what the Padres want to continue to get here. I'm seeing someone here say, Kirsten says Morhone can be in a package, a trade package. That's more like a throw-in, though. So is it worth it to have Morhone go be a throw-in in a trade when the team probably would do a deal without acquiring Adrian Morhone? I mean, it's if you have to include Adrian Morhone, you do it because he just hasn't been able to stay healthy with the Padres. So yeah, you obviously do it, but that's not going to be like, oh, Adrian Morhone. That other team's not going to be like, man, I want that guy to be the centerpiece of a deal coming back. That's not what it's going to be. Been here a while, says need a big bat at first base, hoping that's where we go big in free agency. Yeah, I mean, Rhys Hoskins, his name is going to get thrown out there, but he's a righty. There is the risk coming off of injury. And I feel like the Cubs are a better fit for him. Like, in terms of money to spend, they might give him a multi-year deal. I don't know. I don't see Hoskins coming to the Padres. I don't know if the Padres want to give Hoskins multiple years, and he might get multiple years from a team, and that might be the difference. What if he commands, 15, 17, $18 million a year? Are the Padres in a spot to do that? I don't think so. When you still have to get starting pitching, and relief help and a couple outfielders. Hoskins doesn't play the outfield. You're going to have Azokar and Tatis as your only outfielders. You're going to have the double A dude that they just acquired from the Braves. You're going to have him go play left field. Like, no. And Jacob Marcy's not ready to start the season. At least it doesn't seem like. No. Again, repeat. This, as of now, the free agent signing is not official. Just Yahoo in Japan is reporting it. It could be wrong, but this is a Japanese pitcher. And so when a Japanese site reports it, I tend to think it's correct. You know, they're not just saying, "Oh, it's close." They're saying the years, 4 years, 21 mil. That's what I'm seeing right now. Yep, I agree with Andy. Let's get more pitching. Can always get more pitching for sure. Let's see here. Yes, I did see that, Christopher. MLB Network did report it. I don't know if they reported it on TV, but I saw it on social media that they did report that it was close. Or excuse me, I'll pull it up right now actually. They did report that, yeah. He's reportedly signing with the Padres. MLB Network here. This was 4 hours ago. Free agent left-handed pitcher Yuki Matsui and the San Diego Padres are reportedly in agreement on a multi-year contract. Matsui recorded a 1.57 ERA and 39 saves last season in the Nippon Professional Baseball League. All right. Anything else? I mean, what's left? Getting more pitching for sure. I think you're going to see trades. I don't think it's just going to be free agency from here on out, but this is the first Padres major league. Right? I'm not forgetting anyone. Yeah, the Padres' first major league free agent signing this offseason. I felt like I was going to forget someone, but they've all been trades. Yankees, Braves, Guardians, all been trades. Steve, thank you so much for the super chat here. Says Nightingale told Hogg that the Padres only have 25 mil to spend, less than we thought. Thoughts? I did read this comment already. So thank you for the super chat, but I did read that. I did see you put that in there earlier. Yeah, and I said, I think that's right. I don't think that that's super off base or anything like that. If the Padres want to have room to add at the deadline, you want to stay under the 237 number, then yeah, 25 mil. I mean, that seems pretty spot on, I would think. Because they're at 205 right now, a little over 205. You add Matsui, a little over 5 mil. You're at a little over 210, right? Probably around 211. So yeah, that doesn't give you a whole lot of room to spend. Regardless of if you want room to add at the deadline or not. Yeah, it doesn't give you a whole lot of room. So I could see a Kim trade happening. Crony, I think it's less likely because of the contract. If you missed my Ha-Seong Kim episode from the other day, you can go check that out. Episode 541. Should the Padres trade Ha-Seong Kim? Had a big discussion on that. My head says yes if the right deal comes. My heart says no because we all love Ha-Seong Kim. But I'm just looking at it from the position perspective and other teams. They could be, buying high on Ha-Seong Kim, and the Padres could be selling high. And if that can help you build more of a complete roster, and there's other guys that can play middle infield that can open up a spot for an actual, power hitting first baseman, I think it's something to think about. With not a whole lot of money to spend, I think it can make a little bit of sense. All right. That's it. Talking Friars episode 542. Thank you, everyone, for the time. Padres reportedly signing Yuki Matsui, adding him to the bullpen. SeatGeek code Talking Friars, $20 off your order. Underdog Fantasy, 100% deposit match up to $100. Check out Breaking Tea and Foco. Some Padres bobbleheads with Foco and with Breaking Tea. They've got Padres, Aztecs, and Wave shirts and sweatshirts. Aztecs, by the way, they play Stanford on Thursday. Big matchup there at Viejas. They just crushed St. Catherine last night. We'll see if Darian Trammell is going to be healthy. Jay Powell got, I think, poked in the eye. So Hopefully he's going to be good. But after that, after the Stanford game, San Diego State has a little bit of a break. Then they play Gonzaga on the 29th at Gonzaga. That's going to be a huge matchup there for the Aztecs. Big National Signing Day. I did a video on that here on YouTube of San Diego State and some of the signings, some of the commits that they have gotten. Seems like it's going to be a much more exciting season next year for San Diego State football. Sean Lewis taking over as the head coach after Brady Hoke left, retired after a 4-8 season. And then San Diego Wave, they're making moves. I put out some videos there. Savannah McCaskill, she signed with San Diego Wave from Angel City FC. They added Elise Bennett in a trade. They're making some moves, and there's more free agents out there. So a lot of stuff going on in San Diego sports. Stay tuned. Hopefully, I'm going to have another interview this week. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, thank you everyone for the time. Have a great rest of your night.